सप्तकला मीडिया में आपका स्वागत है and today we are going to speak about and go into detailed analysis of the union budget. Namaskar, I'm Sanjay Chaturvedi. Today we are going to have a very detailed analysis on the union budget 2022. In few hours before in the parliament, our finance minister gave a most futuristic and most progressive budget in the recent past which ever we have seen it, and it's so very good for the real estate industry, and people those who are seeking the homes are going to have a great years ahead for as far as the real estate is concerned. I have my reasons, and we are going to have some nuances and some intricacies going to be discussed in the real estate into the union budget of 2022. First thing first, let me tell you why I am so optimistic as far as the real estate is concerned. Because of the reason that the futuristic and the vision which this very foundation stone this particular budget have set in. You remember in 2001 and in 1991 where there was a liberalization was set in the Indian economy, and believe you in me is this budget is going to be the milestone budget for next 25 years actually. Now I tell you for one thing for sure, the government did not want to compete with the private developers and the builders, and instead have actually become the facilitator, or the way that the government has actually penetrated into and created a platform for the national building and national capacity building into the real estate. And of course, we are going to have some few discussion on the personal finance also, but we are going to have, and that will be, we are going to have some different episode altogether. But today we are going to speak about the real estate. You are with me, you can just put your questions to me on the chat box right now, and then if suppose you want to me to explain some provisions of the budget, then I'll be glad to give you this. Let us start with the Nirmala Sitharaman's, our honorable finance minister, have actually have said that this budget seeks, in para 7 it says that this budget seeks to lay the foundation and gives a blueprint to the steer the economy over the Amrit Kal of the next 25 years. That is the actually main intention of the budget, from India at 75 to India at 100. Now it says that from next 100, that means next 25 years, when India becomes 100 years old, it continues to build on the vision drawn in the budget of 2021-22, this budget, and its fundamental tenets, which includes the transparency of the financial statements and physical positions, reflect the government's intent and strengths and challenges. This continues to guide us. That is what the FM said. And the four core areas of the budget, which she said it was the PM Gati Shakti, that is the transportation and infrastructure development. She was actually indicating into the very beginning of the budget. It says that inclusive development, the word inclusive development means a lot, and the more we graduate into the budget, we will understand what exactly is the inclusive development. The third core area which the finance minister have said that this budget is, and they are going to thrust upon, in the productivity enhancement and the investments, sunrise opportunities, energy transitions, and the climate actions into the mind. That is a very futuristic approach as far as the economy is concerned, and aligning the Indian diaspora and Indian aura into the international fraternity. And the fourth core area, which the finance minister wanted and have given us, that is the financing of the investments. Let's go one by one. And in since 2014, that is, this government has actually focused on various areas, including the empowerment of the citizens, especially poor and marginalized. This budget speech have very specifically and categorically have said that we have emphasized on the housing. And what did the government actually did it? The housing for all actually was ended in 2022 because of the COVID. Now we have now extended. And in para 55 of the budget speech, the finance minister said that in 2022-23, 80 lakh houses will be completed for the identified eligible beneficiaries of PM Awas Yojana, both rural and urban. Now, in for this, 48,000 crore is allocated for these purposes. Actually, in the last union budget also, it was actually somewhere around these figures only, but then it has enhanced to almost 1.575 times more that the government and the state governments could actually achieve in the housing for all mission of the government. So this is not a small figure of 80 lakh, that is 8 million houses in the rural and the urban agglomerations. In para 56 of the union budget, the finance minister said that the central government will work with the state government for reduction of time required for all land and constructions related to approvals for promoting affordable housing for middle class and economically weaker section of the society. Now, what does that mean? It means that there are some very fabric of the legal framework where the central government would like the state governments to reduce the time for required to acquire and develop those all lands which are logged. It's a good initiative, that is where there is a policy decisions and the clear indication of the central government in the budget which says that they are very keen into the reducing of the time required for all the land and construction related approvals. Many approvals are there, including environmental, including there are so many approvals, we know all that, I'm not going into detail. Then the further finance minister said that the urban development in para 68, she said that by the time India becomes 100, that is by 2047, nearly half of our population is likely to be living in urban areas. That is why I told you that the budget is a futuristic budget and a progressive budget, which only a government which is thinking beyond certain limits and having some vision. We all know that our urban agglomerations are actually swelling in, and she very rightly said in para 68, it says that by the time India at 100, that is by next 25 years, nearly half of our population, today we are almost 33% or 35% of the population which we are living in the urban agglomerations, we require more cities. She has also mentioned the two-tier and three-tier cities to be developed according to the urban. And I'm going to go further up and how the finance minister wanted to emphasize on the urban planning. But in para 68, it says that to prepare for this, that means half of the population. That means almost you can say half of the population will be residing in the urban agglomerations. To prepare for this, orderly urban development is of critical importance. The budget have actually identified the real estate, and when you are decentralizing the entire population and decentralizing the commercial activities, decentralizing the residential and planning new areas, new tier and tier three cities, then this is how the actually would have actually arrested the real estate prices. Nevertheless, the vision of next 25 years, which says that in this particular para of 68, which says that to prepare for this, orderly urban development is of a critical importance. This will help realize the country's economic potential, including livelihoods, opportunities for the demographic dividends. For this, on the one hand, we need to nurture the mega cities and their hinterlands to become current center of economic growth. Now, this is where actually the budget allocation would have been actually given for further development of the cities. But furthermore, I will see that in the few next paras how she has actually wanted to achieve this. On the other hand, we need to facilitate in the finance minister said in para 68. On the other hand, we need to facilitate two and three cities to take on the mantle of in the future. This would require us to reimagine our cities into center of sustainable living with opportunities for all, including women and youth. For this to happen, urban planning cannot continue with a business as usual approach. That means the out of box approach is needed, and that we said that we plan to steer a paradigm change. And in next para, that is in para 69, she said a high-level committee of reputed urban planners, urban economists, and institutions will be formed to make recommendations on urban sector policies, capacity building, planning, and implementations on and the governments. This government is serious about the way the population growth is, and our urban cities are actually swelling. We don't have space, and because of that, the prices are soaring because the accommodation is actually a scarce commodity in the urban agglomerations. The decentralization into and sensing that what would be in next 25 years, where then when there are half of the population is going to reside in the urban cities, there is a huge demand in the real estate. And when there is a huge demand in the real estate, we all have seen it that there are 200 industries depending on real estate industry. And this is where a high level recommended a committee is going to be formed of the urban economists. And this is how where the problem of sheltering the urban homeless, sheltering the urban poor is going to be happening in near future. Then I'm just talking about how the real estate is going to take turn, and that is why I told you that this is a milestone union budget as far as the real estate is concerned. Next, she said, for urban capacity building, support will be provided to the states. Now, that capacity buildings are basically a modernization of the institution, and she said it that modernization of building bylaws, town planning schemes, TPS, and the transit oriented development TOD will be implemented. This will facilitate reforms for people to live and work closer to mass transit system. The central government financial support for mass transit projects and Amrut scheme will be leveraged for formulations of action plan and their implementation of facilitating TOD and TPS by the states. Now, this is where we have seen that in some corridors, it's very specifically said that there are some corridors where there is no scope that there can be a more metro or there can be some urban transport system. Then there will be some eight corridors will also been announced. Next, she said, then para 71, for developing India specific knowledge in urban planning and design, we understood that we need to design our urban agglomerations. We must have some smart cities. We must have some, facilitations of, having these 50% of the population of India into the urban agglomerations. And then in the next para, that is in para 71, she said, for developing India specific knowledge in urban planning and design and to deliver certified training in these areas up to five that is how she is actually planning that we don't want to actually import knowledge. We want to enhance our own knowledge and encourage our students for the urban planning and urban centers. That she said that up to five existing academic institutions in different regions will be designated as centers of excellence could be SAPT in Ahmedabad, could be some architectural college in Delhi would be the center of excellence. Now, this center will be provided endowment funds of 250 crore each. That is the allocation with the, that means almost you can say 1,250 crore rupees is being allocated just for academic purpose for understanding the urban agglomerations. In this edition, the AICTE, that is All India Institute of the Technical Education, will take the Council of Technical Education will take the lead to improve the syllabi, quality and access of the urban planning courses in other institutions. Now, this is how the budget is not just allocating, but it is making it sure that it is being executed. The vision is being formalized on paper and it is being executed into the cities. Then the most important factor in as far as the real estate is concerned is the land records. For ages, I believe so, almost 100 years now, where there was a first world war where the cadastral surveys were done by the Britishers, and that era the land records are being done. Sometime back, some computerization was done, but then still there is a big scope for the land reforms. In this budget, the honorable finance minister have actually mentioned that the land record in para 74, she said that efficient use of land resources is a strong imperative. State will be encouraged to adopt unique land parcel identification number to facilitate the IT based management of records. The facility for transliterations of land, or you can say transactions of the land record across any of the Schedule 8 language will be also be rolled out. The next para 75, she said that the adoption or linkage with the National Generic Document Registration System, that is NGDRS, with the One Nation One Registration software, that is a huge work where anybody can see the land record in the national grid, will be promoted as an option for uniform process for registration, and anywhere registration of deed or documentation is a big thing, and accordingly she said that the amendment will be made accordingly in the registrations. Further on, in para 85, she said that our vision is that all villages and their residents should have the same access to the e-services, communication facilities, and digital resources as urban areas and their residents. The contracts for laying optical fibers in all villages, including remote areas, will be awarded under the BharatNet project through PPP in 2022-23, and the completion is expected in 2025. What does it mean? Why we are so skeptic about it. The villages are going to be having e-services and communication facilities and digital resources, and just like they are having laid down the optical fibers. Mind you, in this COVID period, we were actually all confined to our homes, and work to home culture have actually emerged. Now, to look at this, you see that our youth and many of our workforces are working from the small town villages, small places, where if the fiber optic fiber is going to be, so then there won't be much travel, there won't be much burden on the transportation, there won't be much burden on the real estate, won't be much burden on the infrastructure and urban infrastructure. So if the half of the population is going to stay back in the rural areas, why not to have the optical fiber and into the villages and in the remote places where we require them the most? And a person sitting in the village can work as if that he is working in some specific work environment, and there where is work to home culture is going to be developed, and the center has very specifically addressed this work to home culture. Then Now the big step was taken that there is no more SEZ. That means you have seen the in after the SEZs were and now there were 1400 SEZ in the country, and none of them are now must very majorly they are working on the export promotions. In para 86 of the budget speech, Honorable Finance Minister said that the Special Economic Zones Act will be repealed with a new legislation that will enable the states to become the partner in development of enterprise and service hub. That means let the state governments, work along with all those uh, industrial development parks and industrial development corporations, that this will cover all large existing and new industrial enclaves to optimal utilities and utilize available infrastructure and enhance the competitiveness of the export. But now no more SEZs. That means that we are now again going to have some big industrial and logistics parks instead of SEZs. Now, uh, we were also was actually reminded of that the land record management, which I have already actually explained you, that after the land registration and the records are being into this, I believe so that there will be a big because we are already having the SERSAI wherever, just like a civil, the SERSAI is now actually recording the entire mortgage or whatever charge, lien, anything which a financial institution is taking a mortgage, and national level search is available in the SERSAI this. After going in for the land record digitization in India, I believe that has to be a big thing as far as the real estate is concerned. Let's see some few taxation and some very big step the this union budget have actually taken up. Very quickly I will conclude, and then if at all you are having some questions, I will take it. See, the correction in the returns can be done into within 2 years, provided you don't actually file further more refunds and losses, or if suppose there is some search or seizure going on, then you cannot file your correction returns. The income tax is not deductible per se. The income tax is not a deductible item as far as your income tax is concerned, and the RBI is going to have its own digital currency. Now, what will the cryptocurrencies you believe you must have been reading my post on various social media. I was actually against the cryptocurrency, which the union budget have very specifically have said that the cryptocurrency transaction attracts now 30% tax with no adjustments. That means you only can claim the cost of the acquisition. Otherwise, the losses or your you can say pilferages, or you lose into transit whatsoever, the government is not concerned. No deduction in respect of any expenditure or allowance shall be allowed while computing such income except cost of acquisition, the union budget said. Further, loss from transfer of virtual digital assets cannot be set off against any other income. Further, in order to capture the transaction details, the Honorable Finance Minister said that also proposes to provide for the TDS on the payment made in relation to the transfer of virtual digital assets at a rate of 1% of such consideration above a monetary threshold. That means whatever the TDS is now attracted. The gift of virtual digital assets, the cryptocurrency people are actually claiming that it is a digital asset. So she said that the gift of virtual digital asset is also proposed to be taxed in the hands of the recipient. That is, if you receive it also, then it can be taxed. And the RBI coming with own digital currency with the blockchain technology. You must be knowing what is blockchain technology is. It's a futuristic technology, a decentralized data keeping, which is going to be happening today. Then uh, there was one main, you can say, amendment to the TDS. When you actually pay for more than 50 lakh rupees a property, then there is a TDS changes under section 194 IA. That is, in order to remove the inconsistency, that means there was some consistency whether to stamp duty also is subjected to the TDS or no. So what the finance minister said, that in order to remove the inconsistency, it is proposed to amend the section 194 IA of the Act to provide that in case of transfer of an immovable property other than agricultural land, TDS is to be deducted at the rate of 1% of such sum paid or credited to the resident or the stamp duty value of the such property, whichever is higher. So whatever is higher, you need to take that value and deduct the TDS accordingly. In case the consideration paid for the transfer of immovable property and the stamp duty value of such property are both less than 50 lakh rupees, then no tax is to be deducted under 194A. And that means in all, we have actually covered almost there are some sections which I believe most admirable, that person of ably differently able people can now have a good insurance policies, and even if the parents are more than 60, if the parents are more than 60 years, then they can have a good advantage. Then we have some few more solar power. The government wants to go for the 280 gigawatt. They have provided 20,000 crore, 19,500 crore rupees, and a big, you can say, boom to the gaming and ABGC industry, where the finance minister wants to this. Gift City also have actually given much advantage than the education and many other things which were been given to the Gift City, and that is all I believe so. And it's a big budget, and the finance bill is going to be there in the news tomorrow. But there is no much, you can say, change in the personal finance and personal taxation. We were expecting some ATC, some more tax exemption limits to be announced, but I believe so. The emphasis was to, because of the COVID and other thing, when the budget deficit was actually didn't want it to be more than the some percentage of the GDP, that the finance minister were under the constraint to restrict the budget deficit, so that in the next coming year, when there is a progressive economy, then we need more funds to that. So I believe so. In all, this particular budget is basically a good budget as far as it's a progressive budget, and as far as the real estate is concerned, I believe it is a landmark budget. I hope that I'll take some questions. And I believe there is some only appreciations. There are not so questions are there. So even if suppose you want to ask me some questions either on taxation, on real estate, law, finance, anything, or economy, I will be much be pleased to assist you and research the answer and come back to you. You can always write to me on Sanjay at sanjaychaturvedi.net, and I'll be absolutely be delighted to assist you. Thank you very much.